Let's talk about using what we've learned to prevent child neglect. And look at some manageable steps we all can take. Child neglect is a serious and pervasive issue, but we can all make a difference. There are 4 sections to this training. You have already completed Explore the Basics, where we defined child neglect, Fact or Fiction, where we examined some assumptions about child neglect, and It's Everyone's Responsibility, where we considered the role and responsibility everyone can play in preventing child neglect. It's time to think about manageable steps and strategies we all can take to prevent child neglect. There are additional resources available on the National Alliance of Children's Trust and Prevention Fund's website, ctfalliance.org, and on the website for the National Child Abuse and Neglect Technical Assistance and Strategic Dissemination Center, CANTASD, a service of the Children's Bureau, at www.cantasd.org. When we identify doable and manageable steps and strategies, we realize that there are things we all can do to prevent child neglect. We know that preventing child neglect is everyone's responsibility, but how can we identify manageable steps and effective strategies? Remember, the protective factors are tools that we all can use at each level. At the individual level, at the family and relationship level, at the community level, and at the societal level. Protective factors shield us against the risk factors that can contribute to neglect. Let's take a moment to look at some manageable steps where we all can begin to make a real difference. You, as an individual, can become more knowledgeable about neglect, how to recognize it, how to offer help, or how to report it. Realize that child neglect may happen in your neighborhood. Volunteer in your community. Be aware that others might need help and be willing to reach out to them. Donate clothes or food. Notice and support parents who may be struggling. Have a hopeful and positive attitude about the small things you can do to prevent child neglect. You can probably think of many other steps that only you can take to make a difference. There are also steps you can take with your own family and in your relationships. You can work together to better understand the developmental needs of and expectations for children. Model and teach children empathy and compassion for others. Create family projects designed to help others. Promote open communication. Share your experiences and knowledge. We all have a story to share. Help the topic of child neglect become less hidden. Talk about it with friends, and immediate and extended family. Seek support when you feel it might help. Strive for stability in your own family. And become a more active part of your community. Take that first step to be involved. It is important to remember that the things children need most are free. What they really need is your love, your time, and your support. We have identified some manageable steps you can take as an individual, and we have discussed ways you can lead your own family to become involved through specific steps and strategies. Now, let's think of ways you can have an even greater impact through manageable steps you can take in your own community or neighborhood. You can respect and celebrate the diverse cultures represented in your community. Educate. Use every resource. Things like public service announcements, flyers, brochures in offices. Sponsor a 5K run or walk event. Use social media to get the word out. Work with groups in your community to help them think of ways they can increase their support to families. This could include clergy, teachers and other school personnel, physicians, child care workers, and business leaders and other community members. Donate to or work for clothing and food banks, and for other support efforts, such as transportation waivers for families. Help organize and provide low or no-cost opportunities for your community or neighborhood to get together socially. From spring through fall, create and contribute to the success of a local farmers market. Support mentoring programs for adults and children in your community and neighborhood. Create a community-wide attitude of support and safety. Encourage businesses to support families through support such as coupons, discounts, and special events where community members can connect and bond. After you become involved in your community, you'll find that the opportunities to support families will grow and blossom. We've been brainstorming about the manageable steps we can take as individuals, as family members, and as community members. But what about our own role in society as a whole? You may be thinking that finding manageable steps will be harder here. However, through your advocacy and actions, you can help to develop funding and policies to support and sustain quality childcare, develop ways to make it okay to ask for help, ensure agencies and organizations provide home visitation programs to all parents, work with businesses to examine ways to provide paid parental leave, provide quality after-school care in your community or local school district, help to fund summer food or activity programs for school-age children, support the funding of multiple assistance programs for all families in such areas as mental health, fatherhood initiatives, aid to the homeless population, housing, transportation, and job training. Develop and support robust leadership to foster strong, supportive values and a deep commitment to serving and strengthening families. There are many things we all can do. Whether you are acting in your role as an individual, as a family member, as a community member, or in your role in society as a whole, you are at the heart of each manageable step. One person can make a difference. Listen as each parent shares who their one person was, the person who made a difference for them.
The one for me really was my mom. She was the one who let me know that she still loved me no matter what. I had a caseworker who stood by my side, who came to court with me, who fought for me. And then I went from that to a probation officer who helped me to believe in myself, that gave me the strength to be able to push forward.
I also received a lot of help from a woman that had served as our administrative assistant when I was a social worker. And she just refused to give up. Her and her husband would invite me over for dinner, would invite me out with them to go places. And they were also instrumental in making sure that I became involved with a church community. And what I learned was that there are people out there that are willing to give you a chance.
So I would say for me, I can start with my mom. And I start with my mom because I strongly believe that my mom, in raising 7 children, was the epitome of you could do it no matter what you have or what you don't have. And so I think that played out even with me raising my 2 children and not having everything that I felt I needed to have to raise them.
She hand walked me to keep to all the services and resources I needed, treatment, mental health services, housing, and she went to my CPS appointments and helped me stay on my case plan. And she literally hand walked me for 1.5 years of my life, even after my daughter was born, while I was in college, just helping me with whatever I needed.
From the first day I had met him, because of my previous child welfare worker, he was an angel sent. Him talking to me, sitting with me while I'm at court, him debriefing with me after courts. And so a lot of times the child welfare worker took the time out to come to the house, to sit with us and explain things to us. He didn't have to go to the grandparents' house. He went to their house. Let me explain some things to you as well. And for him reaching out to all of us like that, it meant a lot. It meant a lot. It helped me strive even harder. It helped me see that I am somebody and I could be Bridget again, that fine, fantastic mother who loves her kids, who never stopped loving her kids.
Now that you've learned some steps you can take, share this information. Because when we all work together, child neglect is preventable. You have now completed all 4 sections of the training. We've just begun to explore all the steps and strategies that you can take in order to take an active role in preventing child neglect. Many additional resources can be found on these websites. Support for this training was provided by the Office on Child Abuse and Neglect, Children's Bureau, Administration for Children and Families, U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, through the National Child Abuse and Neglect Technical Assistance and Strategic Dissemination Center, CANTASD, contract number HHSP 233-201-400025C, in partnership with the National Alliance of Children's Trust and Prevention Funds. CANTASD is funded by the Office on Child Abuse and Neglect to create resources and develop peer learning activities, including the National Conferences on Child Abuse and Neglect, for those engaged in primary prevention and early intervention to promote the safety and well-being of children, youth, and families. The National Alliance of Children's Trust and Prevention Funds provides training, technical assistance, and peer consulting opportunities to state children's trust and prevention funds, and strengthens their efforts to prevent child abuse and neglect. Parents from the Birth Parent National Network, BPNN, helped to provide the video conversations in these learning sequences. The BPNN is an expanding national network of hundreds of birth parents and organizations working together to support families and influence child welfare systems. It is supported by the National Alliance of Children's Trust and Prevention Funds and Casey Family Programs.